Wicked and Gladiator II coming out the same weekend, or Glicked seems to be the Barbenheimer of 2024. I enjoyed Wicked as a wonderful musical. Does Gladiator II succeed as a sequel to one of my favorite films? Well, let's find out. Hey movie buffs, I'm Jack Benner and welcome to my review of Gladiator II. Gladiator II is the new historical sequel to 2000's Gladiator, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen, Joseph Quinn, and Denzel Washington. In Gladiator II, we followed the son of Maximus, Lucius, played by Paul Mescal, after the Roman army, led by General Acacius, played by Pedro Pascal, invades his home and murders his wife. Lucius seeks revenge against him and fights as a gladiator for Macrinus, played by Denzel Washington, who has sinister plans of his own. Before I get into my review of Gladiator 2, any new viewers coming across my channel for the first time, welcome to my channel. I am Jack Benner. I talk about movies on here. I do movie reviews. From time to time, I do some lists on here. So you like movie content, like what you see so far, definitely considering that like and subscribe button for more exciting movie content down the road. A few weeks before Gladiator 2 came out, I went back to revisit the first Gladiator since it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. And 24 years later, Gladiator holds up phenomenally as one of the greatest historical epics in film. My pick for the best Ridley Scott movie, even over Alien and The Martian. It is my favorite Russell Crowe performance as Maximus, although A Beautiful Mind would be my runner-up. And it is my pick for my favorite film of the year 2000. From its incredible scope and spectacle, the production design, costume design, all fantastic. Amazing visual effects, fantastic musical score from Hans Zimmer. And this movie is just a gripping and compelling revenge story. While Russell Crowe is commanding and magnetic as Maximus, Joaquin Phoenix as Commodus, the villain, one of my favorite villain performances in film, where you understand his motives, how sinister and menacing he is, and his connection to Maximus, and Joaquin Phoenix excellently using his facial expressions in certain scenes. And if you would tell me almost 20 years later that same actor would go on to play the Joker, I would believe you. And that one scene, Busy Little Bee, oh, that scene still gives me the creeps. Russell Crowe rightfully won the Oscar for Best Actor for this movie over Tom Hanks in Castaway, who was fantastic, but I'm happy Crowe won, and Joaquin Phoenix was rightfully nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this movie. The film was a box office hit, and it was the fourth highest grossing film domestically of the year 2000, behind Mission Impossible 2, Castaway, and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, winning 5 Academy Awards such as Best Visual Effects, Best Sound, Best Costume Design, Best Actor for Russell Crowe, and finally, Best Picture, even over other movies such as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Traffic, and many others. So Gladiator, one of my favorite historical action films, and one of my favorite films of all time, 5 out of 5 stars, A+ movie. Developments for a sequel to Gladiator, either a prequel or a sequel, began a year after that first film released, thinking about following Lucius from the first film, and after different sequel ideas of what they had in mind, what got scrapped, along with financial difficulties for DreamWorks Pictures at the time. It wasn't until 2018 when Paramount Pictures greenlit a sequel to Gladiator. Then after that, Ridley Scott started getting ideas of what he wanted for Gladiator 2, and right after Napoleon wrapped filming, he began production on Gladiator 2 with casting and filming the following year. As much as I loved the first Gladiator movie, I was conflicted on how I would feel about a sequel. I would have been very satisfied, especially after how that first film ended. It may seem sad, but there was still some optimism with that first film's ending. But also maybe Lucius being the main character of a sequel could be potentially interesting. So it would be quite a challenge for Ridley Scott to return to a sequel to Gladiator, because Gladiator is just a very hard film to top or even come close to with its scope, performances, and direction and action. But I did remain optimistic that Ridley Scott was planning something special in store with a Gladiator sequel. Even if he has been hit and miss over the years, I do love The Martian, and The Last Duel is an underrated gem, and I heard All the Money in the World was pretty good. However, I heard House of Gucci was not good. Napoleon I heard mixed things about, and I'm on the side that did not like Alien Covenant. So when the first trailer to Gladiator 2 was released online, I thought it looked promising. It had potential with a great cast involved, an interesting continuation for the story, and incredible action sequences. But the one thing about that first trailer I did not like was easily that rap song in the middle of the trailer that felt out of place. Just listening to that song in the trailer, I was like, yeah, this doesn't fit at all. And I wonder if that song was in there because it had one of the lyrics, bloodstains on the Colosseum doors. And I wonder if Ridley Scott was thinking, oh, this song has bloodstains on the Colosseum doors in one of the lyrics. I am making a Gladiator sequel and I must put that song in the trailer. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Ridley Scott was thinking that way. But either way, this was one of the movies I was most looking forward to for fall 2024. And I was hearing mostly positive reviews going into it. I didn't expect it to top the first movie or even come close. All I want is an entertaining and satisfying sequel with Gladiator 2. So, did Gladiator 2 entertain me? My thumb goes... Now, is it as good as the first Gladiator? No. Does it have flaws? Yes, I'll get to those. But would I consider Gladiator 2 to be an entertaining, worthwhile, and satisfying continuation? Yeah. And as far as legacy sequels, I don't think it comes close to films like Mad Max Fury Road, Creed, Blade Runner 2049, or Top Gun Maverick. I don't think it joins those ranks, but it would be better than some other legacy sequels such as Independence Day Resurgence, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Space Jam A New Legacy, and Jurassic World Dominion. Better than those turds. So I did enjoy Gladiator 2 and found it to be an entertaining sequel. To start with my pros, at 87 years old, Sir Ridley Scott manifested that he has certainly not lost his touch when it comes to crafting big budget historical spectacle with The Last Duel and Gladiator 2. On top of directing brutal, visceral, and thrilling action set pieces, some of the best action scenes he has crafted in a long time. The action scenes in this movie are so well staged, choreographed, brutal, gory, and it goes quite hard with the violence. Just a lot of slicing, decapitations, arms off. It goes there. And there were even some moments where I was like, ooh, oh shit, damn. It's apparent from the opening battle sequence, Ridley Scott has still got it when it comes to making amazing action scenes and continues to showcase that in the thrilling arena sequences. You can tell this movie is going for a bigger budget, bigger scale than the first film on a $300 million budget, and you can see why it has that huge of a budget. And also going scales with like sharks and a rhino involved. And as for the technical aspects of this movie, for the most part, this film is amazing. The production design is superb at recreating ancient Rome, making it look massive and immersive. Even more amazing when there were actual built practical sets for the Colosseums. And I applaud that commitment from the production crew. Truly phenomenal work at making ancient Rome so grand and massive, along with the fantastic costume design and impactful sound, where you feel every punch, arrow, slice, sword clang. And I would be satisfied if this movie gets Oscar nominations for production design, costume design, and sound. And now to talk about the performances of the film. I haven't seen his Oscar-nominated performance in After Sun, nor have I seen All of Us Strangers. I hear he's terrific in those films. For this being my first impression to Paul Mescal's acting, I'd say it was a great one. Now, admittedly, he's no Russell Crowe. He's not on that same level of commanding presence or magnetism as him. But I think Paul Mescal succeeds at making it his own and a worthy protagonist to follow up Maximus and carry that torch. I particularly admire the physicality that Paul Mescal brought to the role, where you can really tell he was committed for this role and he got jacked for that part. I commend him for that. He ingrains Lucius with relentless energy, tenacity, aggression, and ferocity in the arena sequences that give him a magnetic presence with his charisma and being the emotional weight of the story. To see where Lucius is coming from at the start, him picking up on survival tactics and gaining that leadership role, this proves to be a star-making performance from Paul Mescal, and I hope he applies that same energy he brought in Gladiator 2 to more blockbuster roles down the road. We have two great supporting performances, Connie Nielsen reprising her role as Lucilla from the first Gladiator, playing one of the integral roles of the emotional core for Lucius, his past, and carrying the legacy of Maximus. And Joseph Quinn as Emperor Geta gives an entertaining, larger-than-life, unpredictable performance. And he's having quite a year with two Paramount blockbusters, A Quiet Place Day 1 this June and now Gladiator 2. And we are familiar with him in Stranger Things, and it's always exciting to see more of his range as an actor. And whenever I saw Pedro Pascal and Joseph Quinn on screen together in this film, I was thinking, hey, that's our new Mr. Fantastic and Human Torch in a movie together before Fantastic Four First Steps. And quick little side note, I am very excited for Fantastic Four First Steps next year. That would be my most anticipated MCU film in 2025. And I think Pascal Pascal and Quinn are going to do fantastic jobs in their roles, no pun intended, which leads me to the two standouts in the supporting cast of Gladiator II are definitely Pedro Pascal and especially Denzel frickin' Washington. Pedro Pascal is definitely having quite a year with the TV awards for The Last of Us Season 1 and having a supporting role in The Wild Robot, one of my favorite films of the year, and now in Gladiator II giving a great supporting performance. Pascal does a terrific job as General Acacius. Like Mescal, brought great physicality to the role, but I was interested with his character worn down of conquering empires and the amount of violence and lives lost, making him feel empty. And he's an understandable character where you can see in his eyes how much he's had enough and it has taken a toll on him. And there's a duel between Lucius and Acacius that was gripping, one of my favorite scenes of the film. But my favorite performance in the film is easily Denzel Washington as Macrinus. And a continuous reminder why Denzel Washington is one of our acting greats. Come on, it's Denzel frickin' Washington. Has he ever given a bad performance? Answer, never. Just from the first scene Washington is in, he dominates with his considerable charisma, presence, his character's desire and aspirations to craft a malicious villain. And I thought he had a great and interesting backstory to how he was a former slave. Then he would later become a mentor to Lucius, wanting to use him as an instrument for gladiators. And then in the third act, his character takes a turn and becomes more controlling and power hungry. Washington does an incredible job with all of that. And it was such a treat to see Denzel Washington excel at playing a villain in a blockbuster movie. It's an incredible performance, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Now, Hans Zimmer did not return to compose Gladiator II. Instead, we have Harry Gregson Williams, and it would be quite a daunting task to follow up on the incredible work of Hans Zimmer, but I thought Harry Gregson Williams was more than up to the task, delivering a great score with many great themes. What I appreciated about Gladiator II was how it does connect to its predecessor strongly, how the legacy of Maximus is always felt, tying into other characters like Lucius, Acacius, and what does Lucius have to do to carry that legacy and what's to come for the future of Rome. And I do commend Ridley Scott for not only delivering great action set pieces and being an entertaining sequel, but also doesn't forget that good emotional core and legacy of Maximus too for this sequel. That being said, I do have some flaws with this movie. I will get to those right now. First problem I do have with Gladiator II, for the story, Lucius' story does start to feel similar, like a retread of Maximus' story in the first film. The death of his wife, then we would later become a slave and fighting as a gladiator. It does start to feel like been there, done that with the first film, almost sort of like Force Awakens being a little similar to A New Hope scenario. And for this sequel, I don't think it reaches that same level of depth and emotion as its predecessor. Two, I do wish there were some other things the sequel could have focused on, like more of the perspective of Acacius. As I said earlier, I love Pedro Pascal in this movie, and I thought he was one of the interesting characters in this film. But it would have been great to see more of his point of view, more of him fleshed out a little bit more. Maybe this movie could have been structured like The Last Duel, where it focuses on Matt Damon's perspective in that movie and Adam Driver's. Maybe something a little similar here, both Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal's characters' perspectives would have been interesting to see without making the story a mess. Another flaw, while this movie is amazing on a technical level, there are some CG in this movie that stuck out like a sore thumb, unfortunately. And there is a scene where Lucius is fighting these monkey-like creatures with very sharp teeth and are aggressive and are like, and the CGI on them, ooh, that's a bit rough around the edges. They did not look up to par. They looked like a freaking video game, and that entire sequence, I was like, this CGI is taking me out in the movie. And there were even some shark effects, I was like, yeah, that doesn't look quite up to par either. And lastly, while there are great performances in this cast, there was one supporting performance that did not work for me, and that would be Fred Heckinger. He plays the twin brother of Quinn, Emperor Caracalla, and I thought his performance was a bit over the top, and I didn't always take him seriously. And there were some moments where he's trying to be Joaquin Phoenix's Commodus, and he's just nowhere near on that same level, and he easily felt like the weakest link of the cast. To sum up, while it doesn't reach the same heights as its predecessors, and I felt like some of the writing has a lot to be desired, Gladiator succeeds as a brutal, thrilling, massive, and entertaining legacy sequel with strong direction from Sir Ridley Scott, amazing action set pieces, and fantastic performances from Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, and Denzel Washington. I would definitely recommend this movie to you if you're fans of the first Gladiator movie and curious to see how the sequel goes. Do give it a chance. Or if you haven't seen the first Gladiator movie and are interested in checking this film out, I do recommend you do watch the first Gladiator movie to understand the legacy of Maximus beforehand, and also Lucius was a supporting character in that movie and he's the main character of the sequel, and also the trailer did confirm a fan theory from the first movie that Lucius was the son of Maximus. I would not recommend this movie to you if you didn't like that first Gladiator movie. I don't see this sequel changing your mind. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. And if you were apprehensive about a Gladiator sequel happening, understandably, I do think you should give the sequel a chance and see if you found it entertaining or not. And Ridley Scott did say he has plans for a Gladiator 3, and I am skeptical about Gladiator becoming a franchise, but if he can make Gladiator 3 good like Gladiator 2, I would give it a chance. And now to grade it, I'm going to give Gladiator 2 3.5 stars out of 5, a B. I'm happy that I came out of Gladiator 2 satisfied, even if I didn't think it was as good as the first film, but as far as legacy sequels go, I'd say this was an impressive one. And as for Oscar predictions, I don't see this film getting in for picture since the first Gladiator won the Oscar for Best Picture, nor do I see Ridley Scott getting in for Best Director with the competition at the moment. But as for nomination predictions, I could see 4 to 5 for Gladiator 2. 1, Best Supporting Actor for Denzel Washington, Best Production Design, Costume Design, Visual Effects, and Sound. So those are the nominations that I am predicting Gladiator 2 will likely receive on Oscar nominations morning. So I would like to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of Gladiator 2 if you've seen it? Do you agree, disagree with my review? Or if you haven't seen it, are you interested in seeing the film or not? Let me know down below. Did you enjoy hearing my thoughts in this movie and want to see more reviews like this in the future? If yes, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're new here, and don't forget that notification bell for my next upload in the future. It really means a lot. And until the next video, I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.